You guys, New York City in the 1970s was wild. If you have been following along on all of our Son of Sam investigations, you know that that decade was wackadoo. There was organized crime everywhere. But before we get into it, you know what to do. Please hit that subscribe button and give us a like. As always, such a great big thank you to all of our patrons and our producers here on Esoteric Atlanta. Without you guys, this channel would not be possible. If you would like to help support the work we do here on Esoteric Atlanta, there is a link down in the description box below. Welcome to Esoteric Atlanta. My name is Bryce, and today we're going to be talking to Criminal Justice Chris about the suspicious unalivings around Operation Together and the heartbreaking missing child report of Etan Patz. All right, you guys, before we get into it, I'm just going to share a snippet from Criminal Justice Chris's blog. Now, there's some words that I cannot say, so if you want to look at the screen, you can. Otherwise, I'm just not going to say the word. I'll just leave a pause there, and if you're driving or something, then you'll probably be able to infer what the word is that I'm not saying by the context of this sentence. So we're going to start here. Reported in the New York Times on the 13th of May, 1977, in an article titled Investigations of the Industry Begun by New York State and City, officials disclosed they were investigating the premature closure of Operation Together. The goal of Operation Together, an 18-month investigation, was open to investigate organized crime in the Manhattan industry and deletions, unalivings. It included allegations of organized crime and taking over bars and recruiting adolescents, both boys and girls, for illegal work. But the investigation also included narcotics and other types of criminal activity. The NYPD had internal disputes related to whether the investigation was conducted properly, which led to the inquiry of it. 3 government employees stated that the investigation had been terminated at a significant stage when arrests were about ready to be carried out. All right, you guys, I'm not going to go through the whole article, but basically what we have here and what we're going to go into today, just so you guys know, if you want to read this article before you watch the whole interview, I'll have a link to it down in the description box below. But we had in the 1970s, you guys, we had, if you listen, I'm so glad I was born in 1983 because by 1983, it seems like we had already kind of worked some of this stuff out, especially now in 2025. But in New York City in the 1970s, the LGBTQ plus community was definitely a very marginalized group. It still was not accepted, this type of proclivities, I will say. I've got to be careful about the words that I use on the YT. And so they would have these like bars where they would be able to come and do and live their life freely, right? Like we have them today too, but it's not that big of a deal today, right? Like no one cares today. But back then, because this group was marginalized, a lot of times the Gambino family, these mafia oso type families would get involved to try to make money off of doing illegal stuff. I mean, we're talking some of the worst illegal crimes ever through these particular clubs. Well, from what I understand, Operation Together was conducted by the NYPD to try to bust some of the criminal activity that was happening in some of these particular nightclubs. But it ended up disbanding, and there was a number of deletions of human life, we'll say, that never really got solved. And it's really suspicious. And as criminal justice Chris talks about in our conversation today, Maury Terry, the big journalist who blew the cover off of Son of Sam, also had a lot of information in his notes regarding Operation Togetherness. We also have a character in this story who was heavily involved in Santeria, which I find to be very fascinating. There's just a huge mystery around what was going on, why these unalivings were never solved, and what other shenanigans the government was behind in this whole operation, we'll say. And not just the Operation Togetherness, but perhaps like the criminal activity that the Operation Togetherness was supposed to be researching, if that makes sense. Again, I have to be careful. If you see me kind of being lost for words, because I have to be careful about how I say this on YT. We're also going to be talking about one of the saddest cases, and this is the case of Etan Patz. And he, my friends, was a little boy in New York City who went missing on his way to the school bus. He was 6 years old, I believe. It was like 1979. He went missing, I believe. He was born in 1972. So this was all during the time of, you know, his life was during the time of like the Son of Sam stuff was going on. Obviously, David Berkowitz had been arrested by the time that Etan Patz, I hope I'm saying his name right, went missing. But we know that David Berkowitz, at least if you're on this channel, you know that he was kind of the scapegoat for the Son of Sam, and that this was a bigger crime syndicate that allegedly has connections to the government, to Hollywood, all that kind of stuff. And so we're going to talk a little bit about the disappearance of Etan Patz and the person suspected of having something to do with it, all that kind of stuff. But you guys know, because this episode is so potent, there's literally no way we can put this episode on YT. So no way we can do that. So if you want to watch this full conversation, then please go down into the description box below and hit the link to either RUMBLE, that link, or if you are in a country that does not get RUMBLE, you can go to the esotericacademy.com to our free page to also watch this episode. All right, you guys, I will see you over on either one of those two platforms. Make sure to follow the link. If you're already on one of these two platforms, just hold on and we're going to get into the episode.